It's kind of like the Pete Rose promo, like at WrestleMania when he was talking trash to Boston about how they hadn't had a championship in like decades. It's kind of that same deal.
Love to see someone do that now.
But I don't know. It's kind of like if you're a sports fan like the both of us are, then like you get some of these references and stuff. But if you're just a wrestling fan, you obviously don't care about any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean the NFC playoffs, like that would have been like in January, and the Super Bowl was like in February. So like by June, would people really be like that mad about it? I don't know. I mean they were booing him, I guess, but I don't know. But if you're like on,
that is Texas too with football. They're like,
yeah, no, maybe for them it does. But it's a cheap heat thing, But
yeah. So
then he'd finish by saying, "Everybody loves a champion, and that's why I'm Texas's favorite New Yorker. As far as having a championship and having one around my waist, it's not if, it's when." I could have gone without this being on the show just for the length of it, but
Yeah, it was too long.
Next, it would be time for the Intercontinental title match. It would be Chris Jericho defending against an open challenger, but we'd find out who his opponent was going to be. But before we would, Chris Jericho would be in the ring and cut a promo. Lance Cade all of a sudden would appear at ringside too. He would just randomly just appear.
He just teleported. I don't know where the hell he came.
Yeah, that was just weird. Then Jericho would say that this mystery opponent was not going to be Shawn Michaels because of what he did to him by throwing him into the obscenely expensive Geritron 5000, causing severe eye damage. He'd go on with all that, and then it would be revealed that his mystery challenger would be Kofi Kingston, who had recently at this time been
from Jamaica.
Yeah, the Jamaican sensation.
What a stupid idea. Like, what, saying to keep the accent and all that? Again, Kofi's so young at this point.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
And I have to say, he was wild and young. Like, he was super wild and young. And it's just crazy to me. Like, I know I'm repeating this, but I go back and watch these, and it's like, this is my childhood. And it's just crazy to watch this. And not only that,
I mean, these guys are still here, though. That's the thing, too. That's crazy sometimes.
It is, I know. Some of them are, yeah. Jericho and Kofi both still in, both still kicking. Kofi's not as wild and young as he used to be, but he's still kicking. You know what I mean? So is Jericho.
This isn't NXT.
What? Okay.
Wild and young.
Oh, okay. That's right. So, we are wild and young. But,
So, and also Kofi had just recently been moved to Raw in the supplemental draft from ECW as the final pick. So then, yeah, we would have this Intercontinental Championship match with Jericho. Lance Cade would be at ringside in his corner, and he'd go against Kofi Kingston, who would be the guy to accept this open challenge. In this, he'd be the mystery opponent. In the beginning part of this match, Jericho would toy around with Kofi until Kofi would dump Jericho to the outside and hit a baseball slide / plancha to the outside. Kofi had some unique moves too back at this time. I mean, he still does some stuff to like obviously like wow like some like fans, and he still pulls out some pretty good spectacular stuff to this day. But he had a very unique style. Like, he was doing stuff at this time I don't really think anyone else was doing.
yeah, Kofi.
Even
Kofi
like
at this point.
Oh, sorry, I want you to go.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No, but even like the punches and stuff he do. Like, I didn't see anyone like doing that stuff either. So like, it's just different.
Yeah, it was. I was just gonna say that at this point, like I said, this is like you were talking about. This is younger Kofi. He was doing everything that he used to do, and it kind of made me miss that a little bit.
Yeah, because obviously, like, he's been a part of the New Day, and that's like they've been around for like 6 years now, and that's like I saw a quick fact on Twitter today that's like the longest like running faction like in the WWE like ever, which is crazy to think about. But I don't know. I kind of, even when he was WWE champion, I kind of like, I kind of wish he would have. I mean, I get that the New Day, that's like also like they got super over, and they've like they've moved merch, and like they've been like a great thing for the company. But even like when he was WWE champion, I kind of was kind of hoping he kind of like venture off a bit on his own a bit more, and just so he'd stand out more as champion because like he still had the New Day music and stuff, so he just didn't feel like he was like a complete solo act, just stuff like that. But then following the baseball slide plancha move, he'd hit Jericho with the flying crossbody off the top, which would get a 2 count. He'd mount Jericho in the corner and go for the 10 punches, but then Jericho would dump him to the outside of the ring. Then Jericho would exit the ring, throw him into the ring apron a bit. Then back in the ring, he'd take control of the match for a while. Fast forwarding a bit into it, Kofi would get a comeback going. He'd go for a boom drop, but then Jericho would try to counter into the walls, but then Kofi would counter into a roll-up for a 2 count. Good stuff. And then Kofi would hit the boom drop and get another 2 count. Jericho toward the end would hit the Lion Salt and then place Kofi in the Lion Tamer. The Lion Tamer, not the Walls of Jericho, like the WWE announcers always end up calling it. There is a difference.
Yep.
While Kofi was in the Lion Tamer, all of a sudden Shawn Michaels would appear from the crowd and hit Lance Cade with the Sweet Chin Music. He'd get up on the ring apron, only for Jericho to knock him off. But then with the distraction, Kofi would hit Jericho with the Trouble in Paradise and would pin him to win the Intercontinental Championship. This would be Kofi's first ever championship victory in WWE.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. But this whole thing was pretty good. Obviously, it's mainly there. I think it's mainly there to get the IC title off Jericho, so we can focus only on Shawn Michaels.
Agreed.
Because obviously, as you know, him and Shawn are about to have like one of the greatest rivalries in WWE history.
And it added more fuel to the fire, too, just because like, he cost him the title.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, obviously, I mainly think this was just there for the Shawn and Jericho thing.
Oh,
and also,
100%.
It's good to get the It's always good to get the belt on a young guy like Kofi.
Yeah, I think it was also kind of an experiment thing, kind of like giving him like putting the belt on him just because like he was still very young like into his run. Like he had debuted on ECW in like January of this year. So I remember when he debuted because he had the vignettes and everything leading up to it, and then he debuted, and he was on ECW for like 5 months, and they moved him to Raw. Then he got this huge break here, I guess you could say, getting a victory over Chris Jericho too. So yeah, it was a good match. 3 1/4 from both of us. We both liked it. So Kofi would be the new champ. 13 minutes 28 seconds was the recorded time. After the match, Shawn would sell the damage that had been done to his eye, and then the trainers would come to ringside to help carry him off. And then Jericho would start to follow behind them, and then a swarm of referees would come out to stand in between him and Michaels, not wanting any further damage to be done. But then Jericho would ignore this and would still shove his way through the refs and hit Shawn in the eye again.
Yeah, I really liked all this again because this is obviously just setting up what we're going to get with Jericho and Michaels.
And because of that, come to think of it, I've actually been thinking about this recently, and I think I'm just going to put it out here now. We had gone through the upcoming scheduled lineup, and we had announced it on Wednesday what we plan on doing. I'm thinking everything else we're doing, obviously now, that's still going to go as planned. That's just how we decided to go with it. But I'm thinking Great American Bash 2008, which would be the next pay-per-view. Since we're already doing all the 2008 pay-per-views, I'd say bonus rewind, get that one in there, just because there's a big part of the Shawn and Jericho's feud that's a part of that show, which is actually that's the main reason why I want to go back and see it. So I'd say we go ahead and do a little bonus rewind, and we do that show as well.
Yeah.
So we'll make a formal announcement at some point too on our social media pages. Then we would have Edge, Vicky Guerrero, Alicia Fox, their wedding planner, and Hawkins and Ryder backstage. Hawkins and Ryder would ask Edge if he was going to be ready tonight because it's a big night. Edge would say that he is ready and he wants both of them to watch close but Edge would see fear in Batista's eyes the other night. He's already beaten. He's a beaten man. Then Zack would say it's too bad about Triple H. And then Kurt would continue by saying it's too bad that Triple H got involved with Batista the other night because maybe they could have worked together. So Edge would respond to that by saying, "What do you mean? Are you saying that you think I need anyone's help?" I'm going to give you guys a little lesson here. Batista has never beaten me in a world championship match. He's never done it. Another little lesson. I am a 2-time WWE champion. I'm a 12-time tag team champion. I'm a 5-time Intercontinental champion. I'm a U.S. champion, King of the Ring, 2-time Mr. Money in the Bank. I am the man who banished The Undertaker from the WWE. Oh yeah, in case you forgot, I'm the reigning 3-time World Heavyweight Champion, so I don't need anyone's help. The only thing I need is love from my fiancée. And with that, I leave Batista tonight beaten and empty-handed.
Oh, what a promo. It's crazy he was a 3-time world champion at this point. And when he retires in like 3 to 4 years, he's an 11-time world champion.
Well, he's a 3-time World Heavyweight Champion. He's also a 2-time WWE Champion, so he's a 5-time World Champion.
Let me rephrase that. It's crazy that he's a 5-time world champion at this point.
Yeah, he's 11-time.
He wins 6 more world titles in like 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, so, because his first one was in 06. So in a span of 5 years, he won 11 world titles. Which is crazy because, like, you look at other people and you see how many world titles they may win at times, and you're just like, oh, really? But it was, like, never that case for him.
Taker won 7 in 30 years.
I know. But it's just weird, though, because, like, I don't know. It's like you look at some of the other guys who are up there, like, the most world title reigns and stuff, where they win titles, like, here, left, and right all the time. And then, like, it's like you complain about that, but, like, Edgy never really did because it just... Maybe it's because they were never, like, lengthy and they were just transitional a lot of the time. Maybe that's part of it. Because when he retired, it's like, wow, he was an 11-time world champion. It's like, that was, like, kind of, like, hard to believe in a way.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's kind of like, well... Like, there was, like... Especially, like, here, like, when the World Heavyweight titles, like, it's like, it seemed like at some points, like, he always had that thing on him, and it looked weird when he didn't have it.
I agree.
So then next we would have the Women's Championship match. It would be Mickie James versus Katie Lee with Paul Burchill.
Yeah, this was
This is alright.
It was, I mean, it's a Divas match in 2000.
But, I mean, for a 2008 pay-per-view Divas match, this actually wasn't, like, bad.
It wasn't.
Although I had no recollection of this match even, like, occurring, though, going into it.
Neither did I.
There was some offense from both sides. Paul Burchill at one point would try to get involved, and then Mickie James in the end would hit Katie Lee with her patented DDT and pin her for the win. And also with Katie Lee, I actually remember her more for her time in TNA as Winter than I do with her in WWE.
Yeah, me too.
But Mickie James would retain the Women's Championship 7 minutes, 17 seconds. That's basically all we have for it. 2 stars from you, 2.25 from me, moving forward.
Yep.
Before we would have the World Heavyweight Championship match, they would show the results of the poll from earlier.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I hate this. They do this every OH show. They remind you of this poll about 17 times throughout the show.
Yeah.
And it gets you every time because they show the 2 wrestlers like they're about to face off.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like, wait, this is what? You're like, wait, what? This is the 3rd match on the show? And then you're like, God damn, it's a stupid survey.
Yeah. So, 32% of the vote would vote that Batista would walk out as champion, and 31% of the vote would go that, or they would vote that Batista and John Cena would walk out both as champion, and 30% of the vote would go to Cena to walk out as champion, and 7% of the vote would they would pick that neither would walk out as champion. So, yeah, so the next we would have the World Heavyweight Championship match would be Edge defending against Batista.
Yes, it would. And it's definitely not the best Edge and Batista match, but it's a good match.
Oh, it's way better than the one we covered that Judgment did at one time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This was good. I also liked how his family wasn't involved the whole time, just at the end. I actually liked it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
La Familia.
La Familia. Also, another thing to point out, before the match, I thought there was actually a pretty good video package that was put together for this one.
Yeah, same with me. It really got you hyped and into, like, this match. I just want to say, man, I hated Edge at this point. I really